My dad told me I'm not welcome home for Thanksgiving this year. That's not a part of my job.
Get out.
What?
You want turkey and pumpkin pie with Mom and Dad and Uncle Joe? Go on, get out. Go home.
I feel that it's maybe fair to say that your career, the films you've directed, it's a pretty eclectic bunch of films, and the last one of yours that I saw prior to the Mauritanian was the Whitney Houston documentary. So I was curious, I mean, if there is a line, what's the line that connects Whitney to the Mauritanian?
Well, the Whitney Houston film was the darkest film I've ever made, and it was like being trapped in somebody's nightmare. Guantanamo, you would think, the subject of Guantanamo, which is at the heart of the Mauritanian, you would think would be a dark story. You know, Whitney, you would think was a light, poppy story. It's not. This you would think was a dark story, but actually this is a very positive story, and I think people will come out of this movie feeling a certain kind of joy, a certain sense of inspiration, because Mohamedou is an inspirational character. He's so resilient. He's survived and thrived now that he's out of prison.
I think that's interesting because I was going to say, you know, this is, in basic terms, this is a legal drama. And I think you hear that phrase and you get certain ideas and maybe even certain tropes in your head. But the Mauritanian really does kind of work outside that formula in different ways. How?
Yeah, I think that's one of the challenges of this film was, you know, I wanted people to be drawn into it through a kind of familiar genre element, which is they think it's a kind of legal thriller, a legal drama. You got a defense lawyer, prosecution lawyer, and you've got a suspect who is Tahar Rahim. And very soon, though, it becomes something else, which is really what the movie is. It becomes a character study of this man going through the most incredible injustice and inhumanity in Guantanamo, and yet remaining resilient and keeping his sense of empathy around him. And that's what's incredible about the real Mohamedou and what made me want to tell the story, because it is a positive story about an incredible man. And so, yeah, I think in all my movies, I don't like to stick to the absolute tram lines of the genre. You want to play with that a little bit, and that's what we do in this.
Both Mohamedou as a character in this film, but who Mohamedou is as a person, I was really struck by, you know, the sense of humor he maintains throughout most of this story as we see it. Were you struck by that when you met him in person? I know you got to spend a lot of time with him throughout this whole process.
Yes, that was you know, when I read the book and I thought another film about the war on terror. How do you do this? And then the producer said, no, just speak to him. And so I spoke to him, and within 10 minutes, I was like, I love this guy. Here's a guy who will, you know, sing you a country and western song that he learned from a guard 1 minute. And then he'll be talking about Goethe because he speaks fluent German and has read all of the German literature. And then he'll be talking about his time in Afghanistan which is when he got into trouble because he became a member of Al-Qaeda, but when Al-Qaeda was still an organization that the American government was financing back in 1990. So, you know, he's so fascinating to talk to. His life experience is incredible, but his intellect is amazing. And he cracks jokes, and he loves movies, and he's watched The Big Lebowski 86 times. And so
me too.
what's not to like? No, he's just a fascinating, wonderful human being, a one-in-a-kind person that you don't meet very often. So the challenge of this movie is there has never been a movie like this, a mainstream American movie with a Muslim as the central character in as an accused terrorist. It just does not exist. And in order to make that movie and get people, a mainstream audience, not just the people who already know this stuff, to go and see that film and fall for this character. That's what I was trying to achieve.
My client, he's not a suspect. He's a witness.
Mr. Salahi, would you please raise your right hand and repeat after me?